keep it on the down low, just us two. Want you skin tight, close like denim. Come on, love me right. When it's ending, I'll be fine. Got your body close to mine. Call me if it's only for tonight. Your hands on my body, 'cause my body's what you like. I'm down if you're down to get it now. Call me, baby, if it's only for tonight. If it's only for tonight. Call me, baby, if it's only for tonight. Call me if it's only for tonight. Your hands on my body, 'cause my body's what you like. I'm down if you're down to get it now. Call me, baby, if it's only for tonight. If it's only for tonight. Call me, baby, if it's only for tonight. Come as you are and leave as you please, as long as you're pleasing me, baby. Do what you want, you're not mine to keep, as long as you're driving me crazy. They say lovers never make it without someone wanting more, but I know my heart can take it. It's the only thing I know for sure. Baby, it ain't love, but I'm loving the way it feels. It ain't love, but I'm in it for all the thrills, yeah. Why does it have to be forever to count? It ain't love, it's enough.
Good morning again. Please make your way to dining room number 2 and 3 and be seated. The second session of the open policy meeting will start shortly. Welcome back to the open policy meeting session number 2. We are starting now, and Ching Heng will do the SIG administration. Go ahead.
Thanks. welcome all of you join the policy. The policy, let me. So there is four proposal, so I here down. Okay, thank you. I go to the policy six meeting, the agenda. So in this session, I will introduce the sixth administration. They will use the policy impact assessment. There are four proposals, 162 and 167 proposed by Jonathan. Another 166, the job, the 164, the Chris. And the consensus decision making is a general agreement taking into consideration comment on the mailing list and on the policy open policy meeting. And there are the minor objection and the major objection. So you have a major objection propose your opinions. And we hope the participants should work together to solve the objections. There are code of conduct on the following URL. So the gaining consensus, the chair will consider the mailing list discussion, discuss at the open policy meeting, and the confer. So the confer access the all registered conference attendees can access without creating the separate confer account. So you have already logged into the open policy meeting. You can simplify click on the confer link to access it, participant the proposal consensus decision. It's the reference for my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Chikeng. Now, Dave, for Secretariat Impact Assessment on Prop 162.
All right, Prop 162. So again, this has been published, the mailing list as well as the website. So Section 4 mentions that APNIC could cause any existing bulk users of APNIC Whois data to remove the contact information from their own systems from the internet. As Secretariat, we have limited ability to monitor with respect to who's previously downloaded or published this Whois data. So unless there has been a clear breach of the AUA, it's very hard for us to actually tie that to any specific party. In terms of implementation, it would require updates to the Whois data acceptable usage agreement, revocation of access for all existing bulk Whois users. We would also be doing automatic removal after a set time period, requiring re-signing of the AUA, as well as implementing improved systems for recording acceptance of these new terms for each entity, filtering the data set that we currently publish for bulk Whois consumption. If this proposal reaches consensus, implementation timeframe would be approximately 4 months.
Thank you, Dave. John? Where is John? There he is. So John will be presenting Prop 162, Whois privacy. Can go whenever you want.
Hello, Jonathan Brewer, Telco AS 138041, based in New Zealand. Member of course, and this is a proposal for Whois privacy for bulk access. At the moment, more than 400 users have bulk access to APNIC Whois. They can download the entire data set separately, and we're not saying that correlation equals causation, but separately, it is evident that APNIC Whois contact data is being misused. Now, the objective of the policy change is to eliminate the unnecessary distribution and retention of bulk APNIC member organization contact information by third parties. Contact information meaning street addresses, phone numbers, fax numbers, personal email addresses. So this policy change will not prevent APNIC members or other authorized users of APNIC Whois from obtaining contact details for network resources in ad hoc or automated queries. We will address that separately. Now, the situation and other reasons, I haven't found any evidence that other RRs limit access to contact details. However, ICANN has sunsetted the use of Whois for internet domains as of 28 January. And a large part of the reason they sunsetted Whois is because of personally identifiable information in Whois contact details. So I have not submitted this proposal in other regions, and I don't have a plan to do so at this time. With the exception of abuse contact information, APNIC should remove the address, phone number, fax number, email, and notify fields from org, IRT, and role objects in the bulk access dataset. And this is the part that's a little bit contentious because, of course, APNIC legal team doesn't have jurisdiction to go after users, but they should cause existing bulk users of APNIC Whois data to remove the contact information from their own systems and from the internet. Now, the later part, the internet, I think APNIC does have the ability to do that, at least by asking nicely with a big stick. Advantages, this should enhance privacy and data sovereignty. It should also reduce nuisance contacts. What are nuisance contacts? Telephone calls in the middle of the night from people trying to sell you services. Emails to your abuse contact trying to sell you more IP addresses. Anyway, disadvantages. Out of the 400 and some users, all of whom were surveyed on their use of the Whois data, two legitimate users of the data said that they would be inconvenienced by the change. A third user said that they would be inconvenienced, but also admitted they were using the data against the acceptable use policy. That was Akamai. They still have not responded to my questions as to why they were doing this. There will be no impact on APNIC resource holders. In summary, removes all the contact information except abuse information from the bulk Whois, requires existing bulk Whois users to remove the contact information from their own systems and the internet. And yeah, questions?
Any questions or comments?
I see somebody moving. Oh, good. She's not just going to leave the room. No, she's just changing chairs. Yes,
Please
please.
state your name and affiliation and go ahead.
Mr. Kok, right by NCC, probably not understand the policy process yet.
Can you bring the mic closer to your? Yes.
I can handhold it, this will work. In the policy proposal on the website, I see the requirement to renew periodically. I applied for this access for my team, and we need somebody with statutory signing powers to actually sign this contract. So if you want to use the same procedure for validating that somebody wants to renew their access, it might be a very high burden on users, because it's easy for me to say that we're still actively using a data set and we're using it for NRTM access, but it's difficult for me to get somebody with signing powers to actually sign a document again. That's something I would want to bring to your attention.
Thank you. I acknowledge your difficulty and pain, but at the same time, I would like to state that bulk access to Whois gives you an incredible amount of information. And that information should not just be granted to a large company unless the large company's management know that they're getting that data. Is it possible for the Secretariat to put the impact statement from APNIC back on the slides? Because I'm interested in looking at that again. Thank you. Any more? Next question then, from online, from Melody, I guess.
Hello, I'm Melody from APNIC. There is a question on Zoom from Ying Chu Chen. She says, I support this proposal basically, but is there any existing mechanism for law enforcement agencies investigate illegal behaviors if the proposal get the community consent?
Law enforcement agencies can get all of the data that they need on an ad hoc basis by using the interactive Whois service. This is only a restriction on the distribution of the entire data set at once.
Please.
Yeah, Pankaj Chaturvedi, ISPI.
Woody.
I'll hold it. Sorry. Just one is that the proposal, does it mean that whosoever has the entitlement or the access as a bulk user are only being restricted, or are we planning to remove all these the data points which you just talked about the Whois contacts, and only the abuse will be left? Is that what we are doing? Only for the bulk users, but for the individual Whois search, if I am doing for any ASN or an IP address, will I still get all the details?
The bulk data set will only have the abuse contact in it. But for an individual Whois search, when you're searching for just one ASN or just one IP address, yes, you will get all details.
Yeah, because reason I asked was that generally that means that the restriction is for the bulk user, not for the LEAs and the other users who would like to check the credentials of a particular IP address or an ASN. If that is the case, then that is okay, that the proposal, I'm okay with the proposal, but altogether the data cannot be removed from the Whois search if it is an individual search, because a lot of people have given their contacts. They are the commercial or the technical contacts of a particular IP addresses, and they are well aware that it is in a public domain. Thank you.
Yes, that is correct. So this is only affecting the complete bulk Whois data set. And if you make a query for an individual IP address or ASN, you will get all of the details. Anurag.
Matthew.
Matthew from LeapTel. I strongly support this, and I quite honestly don't have any problems with an organization being forced to re-sign a document if they're getting all this data. If they don't want to re-sign and get their person to sign it, they don't get the data. Not my problem.
Thank you. Anurag now.
Thanks. Anurag Bhatia, Hurricane Electric. Just wanted to ask, when you say that bulk should only include the abuse contact, nothing else, does that mean that bulk access would not even have address, or it would still have the address of IP addresses and AS registrations?
That's correct. Bulk access would not even have the address. The acceptable use policy of this data set does not allow its use for geolocation. APNIC has a separate product that is available for geolocation, so there shouldn't be no problem with removing address from this bulk data set.
Okay, I didn't have geolocation in mind, but thanks for clarification.
Tina.
Hi, Tina Morris, AWS. I am a consumer of this data for my team. We use it for research purposes, and I don't use any of this contact info, so don't really have a problem with it being removed. However, I do want to comment on two things. The signatory responsibility for the data is a bit of an illusion in a large organization. I guarantee the person that signs it has little oversight on how we actually use it. That's really me. And then but I can't be a signatory, so it's kind of a catch-22. And then as far as the data is still there, if you look up the individual data, so this just means organizations that want it will scrape the individual, and it will be a burden on APNIC servers, which is a very unfortunate side effect of what you're trying to accomplish.
Thank you, Tina. In response to that, I can say that the next policy proposal that we're discussing should eventually lead to an elimination of scraping the public data set.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Yes, please go.
My name is Alvin Kwan, speaking in personal capacity. I just want to offer some insight into the related policy in ICANN world on Whois privacy. There was a particular concern, particularly in relation to cybersecurity and law enforcement after the reduction of Whois, specifically because a lot of the domain name Whois record are being used to correlate the registrant for law enforcement research purposes, the reduction and the access of who is information on a per domain basis does cause some problem in practice. However, in my own opinion, the IP address who is should not be used in a similar fashion. So although in the EU, there was a subsequent regulation that actually forced the reopening of the WHOIS record on the domain name, but I don't believe this particular policy on IP address would cause a similar concern. Thank you.
Thank you.
Aftab.
Aftab Siddiqui, just need a clarification, John. You just mentioned that the bulk access will give you the access to the abuse data.
The bulk access will give you the abuse email address.
Yes. Is that the IRT object or the email address in the IRT object or the email address in the abuse role object, which APNIC copies from the IRT object?
Yes. I'm sorry, but the WHOIS is structured so incredibly poorly. It's very, very difficult to answer this question precisely.
Dave Phelan, APNIC Secretariat. We actually asked the same question and it was clarified in this version where they've said that it'll be IRT and abuse C. So that will still be published.
By the way, I should add that I am reading everything that everyone at the microphone says because I can't actually hear anything. So if you see me staring at this screen, it's because I actually cannot hear you from the fans behind me. Sorry about that. Can we have that impact statement again on the screen? The APNIC impact, Secretariat impact. I just wanted to make two comments. One comment maybe to that impact statement. There we go. So automatic removal after a set time period, revocation of access to bulk WHOIS for existing users. I think this is fantastic. And one of the reasons I think this is fantastic is that APNIC sent a survey out to all 400 plus consumers of bulk WHOIS data. And the response rate was abysmal. It was in the low 10s, I think. Very, very, very few people who are authorized to have access to the entirety of APNIC's WHOIS could be troubled to respond to a survey about it. So I think that too many people have access to this data and that we need a reset. And I think that this will be part of it. Are there any other questions I can help with?
So if there's no other questions or comments, we will go for consensus call. Yes. Excuse me. Before we go for consensus call, remember to log in to Confer for those who wish to use this tool. So this policy proposal has been discussed on the mailing list in today's OPM. The APNIC PDP requires the community to reach consensus or a general agreement on the proposal before it can proceed. So now I'll make the consensus call. Confer should be online. Yes, it is. So you'll be given the opportunity to express your opinion, whether you strongly support, neutral, oppose, or strongly oppose. If you strongly oppose this proposal, you will have to step up and explain why. So if you strongly support this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you support this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you are neutral to this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you oppose this proposal, please raise your hand. Excellent. If you strongly oppose this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. I will now confer with my co-chairs and get back to you very shortly.
Cheers.
After there's a comment?
Yeah, one clarifying question. I mean, I strongly support this proposal. Just want to clarify it again, John. I mean, even though we support it, I would like to see more clarity as written in this. You explained it and then confirmed by David. But I would say the proposal written as is has this ambiguity of IRT and role object. It says both. So if that can be clarified in the proposal itself, that will be fine. Clarification is easy. I mean, the role object of the abuse, if that line is there, then at least I can sleep peacefully.
I would be very happy to make this as clear as possible. Yes.
Dave, we will deal with this in editorial. It's fine.
Thank you for the last comments. So this proposal reached consensus. The next step is in the PDP is to take the proposal to the APNIC member meeting and seek a continued consensus there. The proposal will then be posted back to the mailing list for a 4-week period, comment period. And if required, that period could be extended by 8 weeks, sorry. Thank you, John, for your proposal, and you can don't move, you're next. But first, Dave is going to do the assessment for the next proposal.
All right, this is for John's next proposal, Prop 167, version 1, publish statistics on directory services usage. This initial impact assessment was done for version 1, but version 2 is being presented today. So generally, we are currently developing an enhanced privacy compliance program, which will culminate a revised privacy statement. The collection and publication of this usage data, if the proposed policy reaches consensus, will be factored into this program and the resulting updated privacy statement. Version 2 of this added some additional requirements based on community feedback. I consulted with the engineering teams and we have some concerns about producing this consumption for use in my APNIC has a limited ongoing value. It would require high work effort from our software teams to implement. If this policy reaches proposal, the implementation time frame would be approximately 3 months. This is for version 1. If the added elements for version 2 would be were added, it would need a separate assessment, but an estimate to implement, if possible, would be greater than 12 months.
Thank you, Dave. John, you're up.
Thank you, Dave. Okay, so this is a proposal for published statistics on directory service usage. When I say directory service, I mean WHOIS and RDAP. So what is the problem? The traffic appears to have grown beyond levels that are consistent with intended operational use. Again, correlation does not equal causation, but it could include data mining, bulk harvesting, or automated analysis by parties outside the network operator community with either good or bad intent. Without a visibility into these usage patterns, APNIC members lack the information necessary to develop appropriate policy responses. I could be standing here and saying we need to rate limit access to WHOIS. We need to rate limit access to RDAP. We need to be returning less information in these queries, but I can't even describe the scale of the problem right now. I can show you this. In a single hour in April of 2025, there were 380,000 unique IP addresses across the internet making requests for APNIC member data from the WHOIS. Now, there are not 380,000 network operators in this world. There aren't 380,000 network operators, law enforcement agencies, and cybersecurity companies capable of using Whois in this world. This is not normal traffic. This is not traffic that Whois and RDEP were intended to cope with. And April was not a one-off case. We can see this happening consistently throughout a 3-month period. Even 100,000 unique IP addresses in 1 hour is a lot for Whois. So the objective of this policy change is greater transparency around system usage, allowing us to have informed policy discussions around acceptable use of our systems and sustainability of our systems because they consume resources. As members, we pay into APNIC, and operational budget goes to keeping these systems accessible. We will also hopefully be able to identify possible abuse or anomalous use. And as part of the version 2, which the Secretariat is not too happy with, it would enable members to track queries on their own resources. So the situation in other regions, there are no other regional internet registries who are publishing real-time stats or even near real-time stat on Whois or RDEP. Historical or aggregate statistics are sometimes provided on request. That said, it took APNIC a month to give me data on Whois and RDEP use, and the data that I got was not very rich and not very interesting. I haven't submitted this proposal to other RIRs, and I don't have immediate plans to do so. So what is the proposed policy solution? Statistics about directory services usage, updated hourly, including the number of queries received by the Whois and RDEP services broken down by source ASN, source IP, and service. Now I say for the top 1,000 ASNs, what I expect is that we're going to see, I don't know, 20 or 50 ASNs accounting for almost all of the traffic. I don't expect to see any sort of a normal distribution here, but I can't say that for sure because I have no good information. Source IP address count per ASN. Do we have an ASN where there are 5,000 IP addresses within this ASN making requests? Then we probably have a problem. That would indicate that somebody is spreading their traffic across multiple IP addresses to get around rate limits. If you're getting around rate limits, you're using it in a way that we're not intending you to use it. And of course, what kind of service they're accessing, whether it is the Whois service itself with the text or the RDEP service. I'd like to see some metadata, such as the query type and method. I'd like to see this data published in machine readable formats, such as CSV or JSON, so that we can do our own analysis. And the final point, which is contentious for the Secretariat, including a feature within my APNIC portal, allowing resource holders to see how many times their allocated resources have been queried, broken down by query type and source ASN, if possible. I would like to note that if possible applies to the entire point. So if it is not possible for APNIC to provide per ASN stats in my APNIC, then it's not possible. Advantages: improves transparency and member insight into a core APNIC function. What do we do here? We give out IP addresses and we keep a record of who has IP addresses, and we answer queries about who has IP addresses. Core service helps us identify abnormal or potentially abusive usage patterns. We can just guess based on the data that we have now that the Whois is being abused. We might see for sure. It informs future policy proposals on potential rate limiting of Whois and RDEP, access controls, or developing appropriate acceptable use policies. Disadvantages: the initial secretarial impact statement said that there was a medium level of impact on software teams for the main set of statistics. Yeah, and of course, APNIC will have to develop a method for extracting and publishing the requested data. If APNIC is to execute on version 2 of this, then it seems like the impact on software teams will be a little bit higher. But rather than just saying 12 months very hard, APNIC should say, this is what's possible, this is how long it will take. So we can have an informed discussion of how this policy should be shaped. There should be no impact on APNIC resource holders, at least not if they're using the WHOIS and RDAP in the way it was intended to be used. Summary. Use of directory services appears to be inconsistent with network operations. The scope of the problem is unknown because we just don't have the information. And publication of the statistics will aid in development of future policies. Questions?
So if you have questions or comments for John, please state your name and affiliation beforehand.
I'm the only one got up. Matthew Enger from LeapTel. I strongly support version 1 of this proposal. I think it's a really, really good idea. I agree that version 2 probably will have very short shelf life in terms of usefulness, although it would be quite interesting to know who's querying my records and know. But I think that if version 1 was implemented, we would get to a point that we actually have a very good understanding of what things are to make decisions to move forward. So I'd be very supportive of version 1.
aftabsiddiqui.com.
Aftab for aftabsiddiqui.com. I agree with Matthew that the initial part, I mean, it's an implementation part, which I think the author can discuss with the Secretariat that how it should be implemented. It is, but I want to just highlight that what we're going to get ultimately, that would be AWS, Google Cloud Compute, and all the other big cloud operators, ASN showing up there, because most of these coming out of behind all these ASNs. But probably, so don't put at least top 1,000 ASNs as a limit. I know it's a big number, but don't put a limit there. If you're getting the data through a JSON or a CSV file, that would be interesting anyway. So visualization doesn't matter. You can visualize yourself what you want to visualize. But that's all implementation. Going back to the proposal, I support that strongly. It should have been done anyway. But yeah,
Thank you. And I'd just like to comment that 1,000 isn't a limit. The exact text is for at least the top 1,000 ASNs. Melody.
Hi, I'm Melody from APNIC. There is a question for John on Zoom. This is from Liam Robert Stephens, speaking on his own capacity. Hi, John. Thanks for your proposal. I too would love to see the source IP address of hosts querying various companies' queries. However, I believe this has privacy implications. For example, bad actors may be able to identify the source IP addresses used in network infrastructure. Can you please comment? Thanks.
I'm not proposing to give out the addresses of the companies querying. I'm proposing to publish the ASNs and the number of IP addresses within an ASN. So there won't be anything personally identifiable published in the data that would cause the type of harm that you're suggesting.
Hi again. I'm Dr. Simon Issa. I'm from Zaman University, Malaysia, and I'm also a policy fellow, but I'm speaking on my behalf. I have a very small question. I want to know why hourly basis?
Please go ahead.
No.
Oh, you want to know
why-
why on an hourly basis?
Yes.
Because on a per minute basis would be too difficult.
Why not daily basis?
Oh. Because on a daily basis, we don't
Actually,
really we don't have an idea if people are load spreading. If we publish these on an hourly basis, we're more likely to see some organizations spreading the load of scraping the entire database across a number of hours. If we just see this on a daily basis, this could be hidden.
But don't you think it's gonna be a lot of data to manage?
Oh, no. No, no, no. The amount of data here may seem like a lot, but at cloud scale now, I mean, 1 billion records in a database isn't even big data anymore. I mean, I have Postgres instances with billions of records in them. It's just not a lot.
Okay, thank you.
Any more question or comments from Zoom?
I would just like to reiterate again, version 2 is if possible. So if it is not possible for APNIC to publish personally statistics tied to ASNs in my APNIC, then it's not possible. Okay. What, Melody, did you have someone from, no? Okay.
So if there's no more comment or question, we will go for the consensus call. No one? Okay. So remember to log in on Confer if you want to use this tool. And this policy proposal has been discussed on the mailing list and during this session. The PDP required a community to reach a consensus or general agreement for the proposal before it can proceed. So for the consensus call, you will be given 5 options: strongly support, neutral, oppose, or strongly oppose. And again, if you strongly oppose, you will have to step up and express why. So if you strongly support this proposal, please raise your hand.
Sorry, can we get confirmation that we are doing a consensus call for version 1 or version 2?
Oh. Usually we put consensus call for the last version.
This was a consensus call for version 2, and I did mention several times that if version 2 is not possible, then it's not possible. This is how the policy is written.
So you can only have a consensus call for something as presented.
Yep.
So we are all voting for version 2, which the impact assessment says it is hard. It takes 12 months.
At least.
Not impossible. So we are voting for V2.
Exactly.
Hard. Hard. Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Hard.
so this being cleared up, I will redo the consensus call. So if you strongly support version 2, please raise your hand. If you support this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you are neutral to this proposal, please raise your hand. If you oppose this proposal, please raise your hand. And if you strongly oppose this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you all. I will now take a few seconds to talk with my co-chairs. Okay, so this proposal reached consensus during the OPM. So the next step in the PDP is to take this proposal to the APNIC member meeting and seek a continued consensus there. The proposal will then be posted back to the mailing list for a 4-week comment period. And if required, this period will be extended up to 8 weeks. Thank you, John. And for, oh, Dave is already there. Perfect.
I'm already here. All right, this is the Secretariat Impact Analysis for Prop 166 version 1, revocation of persistently non-functional RPKI certification authorities. This was published to the mailing list and to the website for the full version. Due to low number of self-hosted CAs within the APNIC service region and the unlikely nature of there being a significant number being added the following impacts have been observed. We would need to do some system updates to monitor manifests and CRLs. There'll be a slight increase for the member services team for non-functional CA operators to try and resolve. If this policy proposal is accepted, APNIC will be required to revoke the certificates of certificate holders who choose the self-hosted CA setup in instances where their manifest and or their CRLs have not been updated for a period of longer than 60 days. APNIC will need to update the APNIC Certification Practices Statement, otherwise known as the CPS, to encompass the proposed policy requirements. APNIC will need to update the RPKI terms and conditions to encompass the proposed policy requirements. If this proposal was to reach consensus, implementation timeframe would be approximately 3 months.
Thank you, Dave. We have Job Snyders with us in online. He's going to present his proposal online. Job, can you hear me?
I can hear you. Good morning, Vietnam. Can you hear me?
Over to you.
Can you hear me properly?
Yes, I can hear you.
Perfect. Thank you for having me. All right. Title slides. Let's see. I would like to present on a proposal to revoke things that have been broken for a long period of time. That's currently not happening. And in this presentation, I'll sort of outline what I perceive as the issue and what the policy solution can be. Next slide, please. So the problem is that it is fairly easy to configure a self-hosted certification authority. Other regions call this a delegated CA, but those terms are interchangeable. And you configure this once, and then into perpetuity, the configuration is broken, and it clubbers up the syslog of validators. So in the case of APNIC, there currently are roughly 10 CAs that have been broken for longer than 60 days. There are roughly 5,000 validator instances on the internet, and assuming they validate every 10 minutes, that means that every hour, 300,000 log lines are recorded about those 10 CAs being broken. So even though only a small number of CAs has a persistent issue, it scales poorly in terms of the global internet context. And not only is syslog impacted, these validators also make connection attempts to endpoints that are maybe offline. And this is a waste of time, yeah, that's what this policy proposal is about. Next slide, please. So the objective is to give APNIC mandates to revoke certification authority certificates of CAs that have been broken for a long period of time. And a long period is defined as 60 days. And if we have a policy in place, then APNIC will be able to revoke these certificates, whereas at this point in time, it is unclear what APNIC should do with these persistently broken configurations. Next slide, please. There's a similar proposal in the RIPE NCC region. Both APNIC and RIPE NCC have a number of delegated CAs or self-hosted CAs, so the proposal is applicable in both regions. in the RIPE NCC region, the policy proposal is I guess one step further in the policy development process compared to where the policy proposal is in the APNIC region. As of yesterday, the RIPE variant of this proposal is in last call, which means that there now is an opportunity to a final opportunity to express disagreement with the proposal. But so far in the last 5 months, as this proposal has been going through the machinery over there, there has been overwhelming support to implement a policy to revoke non-functional CAs if they have been non-functional for a long period of time. So that's the situation in the RIPE region. The applicability to the AFRINIC region currently does not exist because AFRINIC does not support self-hosted or delegated CAs. In the ARIN region, it's not yet clear whether a policy proposal actually is needed or whether ARIN can implement a similar mechanism under the existing certification practice statement. So that is a bit TBD. And I await more feedback from ARIN staff on how to proceed in that manner. And in the LACNIC region, delegated CAs are, there's not yet general availability, and I am in touch with LACNIC staff on whether this practice of cleaning up non-functional CAs would fall under existing terms and conditions, or whether they would like to see a policy to ratify the mandate. So that also is TBD. Next slide, please. So the solution I envision, it is fairly easy to objectively measure whether a CA is functional or not. A certification authority in the RPKI context is only functional if there is a valid and current manifest. And if no valid current manifest has been observed for more than 60 days, we define that certification authority as non-functional, and APNIC should revoke the resource certificates associated with that certification authority. Now, over the course of those 60 days, APNIC should make reasonable efforts to discover the manifest. So, attempts should be made from multiple vantage points on the internet, whether really not a single validator can obtain a current valid manifest. APNIC should also inform the resource holder, like, hey, we cannot discover a valid manifest, and if this situation persists for 60 days, the certificate will be revoked. And to clarify, this policy proposal does not target national internet registries or NIRs. It has been mentioned in the mailing list discussions, hey, should NIRs be part of this policy proposal? And I would argue that we should first gain more experience with the proposal as is, and at a later point in time, assess whether it's worth adding, broadening the scope to include NIRs or not. The reason being is that in my measurements of the ecosystem, and I've been looking at the ecosystem for a number of years now, the NIRs are never persistently broken. They are not the issue I'm trying to tackle. It is really individual LIRs that fairly often end up in a situation that is persistently broken. It is never NIRs. So the policy proposal excludes NIRs, and for this version, I would encourage the community to proceed without including NIRs in the scope. And then maybe in 1 or 2 years after we've seen how revocation of persistently non-functional LAR CAs works, then we can decide what to do. The advantages of this policy proposal are that it cleans up digital objects that offer no value to the ecosystem. So a persistently non-functional CA there are no ROAS that can be obtained through that broken CA because the CA is broken. So there's no loss of information from a route decision-making perspective because the broken CAs do not contribute ROAS into the routing system. Validator synchronization becomes more economic because they don't need to connect forever to endpoints that are broken. It helps clean up syslogging. As I said, like there can be hundreds of thousands of syslog messages about just a tiny set of broken CAs if you take the global perspective into account. And this is a minor inconvenience for broken CA operators because they're broken anyway. So the revocation doesn't really change the situation for them because the setup was not working anyway. And of course, if a resource holder wants to retry the self-hosted setup, they are free to just retry the onboarding procedure. So the goal is not to permanently ban entities from running a self-hosted CA if it was broken for 60 days. It just means like after 60 days, the configuration is cleaned up. And if they want to retry running their own self-hosted CA, then they should just do the enrollment procedure again. So yeah, there's no material inconvenience for affected parties. And this doesn't concern a lot of parties. It's in the APNIC region, I estimated it's only 10 entities at this point in time. Next slide, please. Disadvantages. I found it hard to come up with disadvantages, but one thing that came to mind is that maybe a resource holder requires more than 60 days to set up their configuration. But on the other hand, experience has taught us that this type of setting up this type of configuration usually is a matter of a few minutes. So if it takes more than 60 days, it might mean there is a gap in capacity or some skill building is needed or a documentation issue. And in such cases, it would be good if the affected resource holder is in touch with APNIC staff, which would happen if APNIC warns the resource holder like, hey, it's not working for a long period of time. We are about to revoke it. In such scenarios, maybe APNIC can assist the affected resource holder, and this would resolve the issue one way or another, because this proposal is not about discouraging self-hosted setups. It's about discouraging persistently non-functional self-hosted setups. Next slide, please. The impact, according to the Secretariat, is fairly minimal. Some software updates are required to implement monitoring for this type of situation and automating warnings and eventual revocation if the situation is not rectified. Members may ask questions what the emails mean about the revocation, but I don't expect the impact to be large because there's only a very small number of affected parties, and there are some legal documents that would need updating. And I think the burden of work for APNIC being small is reflected in the fact that the Secretariat indicated that it would probably take about 3 months to implement this. Next slide, please. If you want to take a look at current non-functional CAs, you can go to the following URL. It is updated every few hours, and it indicates the moment in time a CA became non-functional. So you can see that some of the CAs have been broken for almost a year, which means that by now they have caused millions of log messages to be logged in validators around the world. And if you have any questions about this website or what specific data fields mean, then please reach out to me. I'm happy to also share the raw data for your own analysis if you're interested in doing that. Next slide, please. So the summary. This policy is only about things that are broken or non-functional. So they are not, as it stands, contributing anything to route decision-making processes on the internet. And I consider cleaning up things that are not working properly for a long period of time a healthy habit. The policy proposal doesn't seem to be causing APNIC a lot of work. It is good to be cognizant of the fact that this policy proposal positively impacts all validator instances, not only inside the APNIC region, but also outside the APNIC region, because there are many, many relying parties that are using the APNIC trust anchor, but are not part of the APNIC service region. So this really is a policy proposal that has a positive global impact. And as I mentioned, I think this does not have operational impact because it's about cleaning up things that are not working anyway. Next slide, please. So with that, I open the floor for questions. I guess the chair will assign the microphone to people that have questions.
Yes,
So
we have question online, right? Melody, please.
Hi, everyone. This is a comment from Ying Chu Chen online for the record, even though job is online, but this is for the room to be aware. I support this proposal, but I suggest clarifying whether the 60 days refers to calendar days or working days. If working days are intended, it will also help to specify how holidays are treated. Thank you.
thank you for the question. The intent of this policy, it was written with calendar days in mind. This is to simplify the calculations for all parties involved. So 60 calendar days and figuring out working days would be a challenge, especially in such a large region as the APNIC region. I hope this clarifies your question.
Thank you, Aftabji.
Aftab Siddiqui, speaking for Aftab Siddiqui. Thanks, Job. Thank you for doing it early in the morning. And someone who has to rotate the logs every day and with the possibility of missing some nice information out of those logs because so much useless stuff in it. I totally wholeheartedly support this idea, but I have questions for Secretariat. So the problem is I would like to understand which policy was used to change the publication window from 30 to whatever it is right now. What policy was used to create self-hosted CAs in first place?
Dave Phelan, APNIC Secretariat. It's not a policy. It is not a numbered document. It is our certification practices statement and our RPK TOC. These are not numbered documents.
Thank you for that. And with that in mind, I would suggest that RPKI is a critical service operated by APNIC and other IRs quite nicely with some glitches here and there once a year or two. That should not be tinkered with policy. It's a critical service. People, members and community can provide feedback saying this should be done, and Secretariat on the basis of how to run the critical service as they know pretty well should make those decisions on its own, rather setting a precedent to change this through a policy is not a good idea. It is a service run by the RIR, APNIC in this region, and should be dealt with it accordingly. It is an absolutely good proposal, but should not be coming through a policy proposal, should be coming as a service change request to the Secretariat, and Secretariat, based on whatever and how they want to implement it, they can come back with some recommendations and can do it. Should not be done through the policy proposal. That's my strong argument on that.
Dave Phelan again. You opened the door on this when you did the AS0 TAL. RPKI was brought into the remit of policy.
It was not a service available at that time. It was a new service. It's a new TEL, and it was creating an additional TEL.
I like that we can blame FTAP for this situation, that you know, we've come full circle. If I may respond to FTAP,
Please.
I don't necessarily disagree with your perspective or your question, like, hey, should this be policy or not? Because it is really a good question. Like, is this part of the normal service offering where some degree of common sense should be applied, and APNIC as custodian of the trust anchor operations should, out of its own volition, revoke things that are persistently broken? Or is this something where the community needs to provide input and make a decision and come to some consensus? And I don't have the answer, to be honest. I have noticed that the sentiment seems to differ from region to region. So, for instance, feedback from RAPE NCC staff was like, well, a policy proposal that is shepherded through the routing working group would just be an unambiguous signal from the community that they want us to revoke non-functional RPKI delegated CAs. And I'm like, okay, then we'll start a policy proposal in the routing working group. In talking with APNIC staff, some indicated that a policy proposal would help establish clear mandates, and that this route would be a viable route. But that doesn't take away from your analysis that, hey, is a policy proposal actually needed? My goal is that somehow we start revoking persistently non-functional CAs. And I personally don't care if this is accomplished with a policy proposal or accomplished through some other means. And then in the North American region, the initial response from Erin staff members was that it should not be accomplished through a policy proposal, but it should be accomplished as part of normal operating procedures. So I think in the global context, it you know, is a policy needed, yes or no? Opinions differ based on the region. And I would love to know how we can accomplish the desired outcome of revoking persistently broken things. So I guess I relegate back to the chairs.
Thank you, Job. Just a quick clarification. It's within the Policy SIG Charter, and I quote, these include policies for resource allocation, recovery and transfer, and resource registration within OIS, reverse DNS, RPKI, and related services. So if you don't want RPKI to be dealt with policy, maybe we should amend the Policy SIG Charter.
Aftab Siddiqui, we are stretching a operation of a service versus what else you have mentioned. So this is CPS is a legal document, and the services provided to the hosted, self-hosted CA is through the CPS. So that's a bit stretch of saying, well, we can discuss. Of course, we can discuss. And I mean, as Secretariat nicely pointed out, my AS0 policy, it was creating an AS0 ROA. And that's why it was discussed in the policy. Not running a AS0 TEL came back from the Secretariat. I never wanted to have a separate TEL. It's for me, it's pretty clear. It's a critical service, and the operations of that critical service should be managed by the Secretariat or the APNIC engineering team, and suggest based on the goal which Job has suggested, which is 100% accurate. They should implement it straight away without the need for a policy proposal.
Thank you so much. Can we have our next question, please? Okay. Please state your name and affiliation.
Alex Corso, Meta. I'm talking for myself. So for me, this is more like a housekeeping technical on how to manage RPKI. So policy or not, I'm more like, it should not be on policy. One question is, why we are talking about like 60 days, 2 months, whatever is working days or not, where this number is coming from? Because what I heard is like only a few people or a few CA who's like more than 1 year old.
If I understood your question correctly, you're wondering where 60 days comes from. The goal of this policy is to only target persistently broken configurations. So if a CA makes a small mistake and is down for a few hours, this policy should not affect them. I don't want for APNIC to revoke CAs after minor blips in their operation. So a period of time was chosen that is lengthy, and if the CA is non-functional for more than 60 days, this policy activates, and this allows certification operations to be down for short periods of time, shorter than 60 days. And by using 60 days, it becomes very clear that it's about things that are broken for a long period of time. But in my mind, 30 days would also be appropriate. But yeah, you have to pick a number that is not infinite, and 60 days is better than the current situation, which is infinite days.
So it's mostly arbitrary.
It's not entirely arbitrary. I think that if something is down for 60 days, we can conclude that it's down. And if something is down for a few minutes, is that like a measurement mistake or a transient glitch? So to some degree, there's a bit of arbitrariness, but on the other hand, 60 days gives us reassurances that it's really, really, really down and has been for a long time.
Thanks for the clarification. We will take an online comment or question. Yes.
Hi, this is Melody from APNIC. I have a comment for the record. It's by Gaurav Kansal. Gaurav just wants to make a point that he agrees with Aftab's point. Thank you.
Thank you. So Terry, you're next.
Terry Sweetser. Obviously, at the end of the conference, I'll be chair of the Routing Security SIG here at APNIC. Just to add to the information here, jobs data is very, very interesting. If you have a look at it, you'll see that there's approximately 48,000 manifests published worldwide right now. My estimation is 120 of them are non-functional. So do the maths, it's a very small percentile, but that doesn't make it any less important. RPKI really does need to be a system engineered for 100% utility, 100% of the time. So any non-functional CRL, any non-functional CA is a problem. So we should be working towards something that cleans up that system. From what I can tell right now, if you're offline for 4 to 8 hours, that's minimal impact on RPKI. But if you're offline for 2 years, that's nonsensical. So I will say right now that this policy, whether it's in the right place or not, absolutely necessary. It's a strongly agree from me. And I'll say also that we're not the only ones talking about this. The RPKI working group at NRO are working on their own document to do this. So I'm working on an internet draft to go through the ITF as well to establish a BCP for the operation of CAs, which would apply to registries, NIRs, and delegated CAs as well. So yeah, please, everyone do a strongly agree on this one, and we'll start working on our friends at Aaron and other places as well to get this cleaned up. Yep. Looking at the right people, aren't I? Good. And yes, Aftab, it's not the best place to do this, but it's one forum out of many, and we should just pursue it as best we can.
Thank you, Terry. I will take our last 2 comments.
Hello, Taiji from JPNIC Personal Capacity. I have 2 comments. Basically, not basically. I fully agree with this proposal. One comment is that for Floor, I think once we launch RPK service, we get the access from worldwide. And this issue, job raised, experienced for every client. His expression is very kind, ecosystem, but it means that everyone accessing or using RPKI worldwide. The second thing is that the recovery process or method is very clean and light. Even the CA is revoked, we can recover with very easy way, just setting up a new CA with new key. If this has any limitation or any suspension period, they could be changed the story, but in this proposal, it's very light. So basically, I agree with this proposal. Thank you.
Thanks, Tazi. Thanks for your insight. We will take our last comment after Bhai.
Yes, Aftab Siddiqui. Just to make it clear, I 100% support the idea. I do not support the proposal. The idea should be implemented by the secretariat themselves, should not go through the proposal. So the proposal submitted here in the policy sec, I do not support that.
Thank you. I think we got all the questions and answers. So this policy proposal has been discussed at APNIC Policy SIG mailing list and at today's OPM. And the APNIC PDP requires the community to reach consensus or general agreement on the proposal before it can be proceed. So I will now make a consensus call. Before starting the consensus call, please log into confer.apnic.net to participate. You will be giving an opportunity now to indicate whether you strongly support this proposal, neutral, or you object to this proposal, or strongly object to the proposal. If you indicate that you strongly oppose to this proposal, then you will be expected to explain if you still haven't for your strong objection. So if you strongly support this proposal, please raise your hand. If you support this proposal, please raise your hand. If you are neutral to this proposal, please raise your hand. If you are opposing this proposal, please raise your hand. If you are strongly opposing this proposal, please raise your hand. So I think we already got explanation for our strong oppose. So now I will discuss with, confer with my co-chairs and come back.
Strong opposition.
Sunny, you want to share something?
Yes, before, sorry, Sunny from Secretariat, there is a strong opposition for the policy proposal. So you should work through that one before you address the consensus call. I don't know whether you heard me or not, but you need to work through that strong opposition for this proposal before you declare your consensus call. Thank you.
That's exactly what we did.
Sorry, Dave from Secretariat again. Don't forget, if this does reach consensus here, AFTAB, the EC can also nix it as well. So
Cheers.
Yes.
Yeah, can I? Yes.
Yes, please continue.
Yeah, so Aftab Siddiqui, I mean, and that's what is happening. That's the problem I am having right now. If Secretariat can confirm on the mic that they will not be able to implement it unless there is a policy proposal for this. Can they confirm? The APNIC services team can confirm they cannot implement this unless there is a policy proposal.
We will be taking some time to discuss about it more.
Well, we have the results of the consensus already. It's just a matter of having a confirmation from Secretariat now. I don't know how long it's going to take because we'll be running a bit late.
We'll postpone the results of the session and watch the Secretariat assessment meeting.
May I? Yes, Sean speaking, application member. I think if call the consensus already, and if we can see the result of the screen, you can, and we got the pulse of the room, what they want, but the challenge is that whether it should go as a policy or it should.
Secretariat can confirm, yeah, we have the solution.
From the
I think we can decide later on, okay, right? So, and
from the chair point of view, your strongly opposition is not for the content of the proposal.
No, absolutely not.
And that's the thing. Usually with a strong opposition, the consensus call doesn't go. But in this case, it is still within the policy SIG charter to implement or not policies relating to the RPKI. So because of that, your strongly opposition is not on the content, but on how it's going to be. For me, the consensus is reached.
Okay. I think we can discuss further discussion in the other sessions that what would be discussed in the policy SIG and what can be done directly with the Secretariat. But for the timing, I think we should proceed now.
we can do it without a policy, but we could also do AS0 without a policy. Yet here we are.
I mean, sorry, I just need to comment on that one because it's pretty personal on that one. So the first part's resolve the whole issue that can be implemented. I mean, once it goes back to AMM, I would recommend all members to not make a precedent. Now, going back to the AS0 ROA policy, it was a ROA creation policy, not tinkering with the services offering. Secretariat came back with the offering that we should create a separate TEL. It was during the implementation, never proposed by me. It's in the policy. So don't try to mix it up. It was the Secretariat's suggestion during the implementation that we will create a separate TEL, will not make it part of the existing one, whatever the implementation reason they raised at that point. So conflating two things together. But the first point is Secretariat can implement it without a policy. So, but since the consensus has been reached, it will go to the AMM, and I would recommend to the EC, let's not set the precedent for doing things on operations through the policy.
Yes, that would be the best decision. Like As we already have seen, this proposal has reached into the consensus. And as a next step in the PDP is to take the proposal to the EPINIC members meeting and seek a continued consensus call. The proposal will then be posted back to the mailing list for a 4-week comment period. And if required, the period will be extended up to 8 weeks. Thank you so much. Thank you, Job, for submitting this proposal. I'll hand it over to Ching Han. And Dave will do the impact assessment for next proposal.
So we welcome Dave to
Thank you.
propose the 164.
All right, let's hope this is less controversial. Secretariat Impact Analysis for Prop 164, version 4. This is actually on version 2, but we're presenting for version 4. Version 3, I'm not sure where that disappeared to. Allocation of IPv6 resources longer than a /32 with a nibble boundary alignment. So this impact assessment was for version 2, but version 4 is being presented today. Generally, we've assessed that there'd be roughly 3,100 resource holders that would qualify for this change. This would create an increased workload with member services team, with assignments being swapped out for allocations and members returning portions of their existing allocations. In terms of implementation, we'd obviously need to change APNIC 127 policy text. And obviously we have to follow the document editorial policy. There will be several systems changes within registry and resource systems to implement. Implementation timeframe would be approximately 6 months, subject to the call for editorial comment.
Okay, thanks, Dave. So we welcome the Christopher on the stage to introduce the proposal 164.
Hello, everyone. You'll have to forgive me. I'm a little bit frozen here in the room. Hopefully we can get out shortly. Okay, so my name's Christopher Hawker. So my name's Christopher Hawker. I'm from Sydney, Australia, in conjunction with my industry colleague, Luke Thompson, also from Sydney. We formulated Prop 164, allocations of IPv6 resources longer than a /32 with a nibble boundary alignment. Okay, so the problem statement. Currently, if a member receives an assignment longer than a /32, e.g. a 36, 40, I myself hold a 44 assignment, they cannot make sub-assignments to their customers or internal areas within their organisation and maintain accurate WHOIS records, maintain accurate records of longer prefixes regarding those sub-assignments within WHOIS and RDAP. If they want to properly document sub-assignments and update WHOIS, they are required to request a /32, which may be in excess of their operational requirements and lead to underutilized address space. Maintaining accurate records is critical to ensure the stability and secure management of the Internet Number Resources system. Now, the objective of this policy change is to reduce the minimum allocation size from a /32 to a /36. This is to reduce the minimum amount of resources which a member has to apply for, which in turn reduces the allocation of resources which are unnecessary and allows them to maintain more accurate WHOIS and RDAP records. Okay, so the current situation in other regions. At the moment, what we've been able to identify is that ARIN already allows for /36 and /40 prefix delegations under section 6521 of their Number Resource Policy Manual. LACNIC, the RIPE NCC and AFRINIC policies all still list a /32 as the minimum allocation size. Okay, so the proposed policy solution. What we're looking to do is update APNIC 127 Internet Number Resource Policies per the below. So to section 5231, LIR to ISP allocations, we'd like to add a new line that reads, when an LIR makes a delegation to an ISP with whom they are directly connected, they must update the WHOIS database with the relevant delegation details, as we as APNIC members would update our own records with APNIC. Section 8.1, minimum IPv6 allocation. This is simply just to modify the text to read that the minimum allocation size for IPv6 address space is 36 instead of the current /32. Returning excess IPv6 allocations. Now, we've had some feedback on this. Originally, it was a member could return any /36 out of the 30, or keep any 36 out of the 32 that they held. We've since updated this, that it reads, if an account holder has been allocated a /32 or shorter, i.e. a /30, /29 and so on, they would be eligible to return the balance of their allocation, reducing their allocation size to a 36. If a member has a 32 or larger V6 allocation, they may reduce it to a 36 by keeping the first 36 out of that 32 block and returning all other address space. Section 821, account holders with existing IPv4 address space. We'd like to replace that with, we'd like to replace the text. An account holder that has an IPv4 allocation is eligible for a /32 IPv6 address block, with an account holder that has an IPv4 allocation is eligible for a /36 IPv6 address block. Now, the advantages of this proposal. This would allow for members to maintain more accurate records for longer prefixes from a delegation within the WHOIS database, and allows for allowing for longer allocations would help prevent the unnecessary delegation of shorter ones so that members can request allocations that better align with their addressing requirements. Now, some people say that we have more /32s in the entire IPv6 address space globally than we'll ever need. But going back, 20, 30 years ago, we said the same thing about IPv4. We've got more than enough space that will last us for God knows how long. We can't treat IPv6 in the same way. Now, some disadvantages we've identified. This had the potential to lead to the announcement of additional routes into the global routing table. However, networks already announced routes up to and including a 48. So this disadvantage is expected to be minimal, if a disadvantage at all. And during the Secretariat impact analysis, they did identify that they don't anticipate or expect the number of announcements to increase, given that address space returned would be replaced with the new address space. Impact on resource holders. We don't anticipate any impact on resource holders because they would have the option to return unused space and move to a 36 if they chose to. They do not have to return any unused, or they do not have to return space, and they may retain it if they wish. Now, the references for this, we obviously referred to the various sections in APNIC 127, Internet Number Resource Policies, as well as Aaron's Number Resource Policy Manual.
Okay, thanks, Christopher. And now we open mic for any comment, suggestions or questions. Please go to the mic. Okay.
Sorry, Rikash Chand, personal capacity, just a quick point of clarification. Well, the prop is spot on. Is this just an amendment to the WHOIS part of it or the whole allocation policy? Because it seems the intent of the policy is just so you are able to manage the sub-delegations in the WHOIS.
Okay, so the intent of this policy is to reduce the minimum allocation size from /32 to a /36, maintaining accurate and that's to allow for the maintenance of accurate WHOIS information, or more accurate than what it currently is. Because if a member has a /32 assignment, for example, or sorry, a /36 assignment, they can only update the /36 in WHOIS. They can't make sub allocations or sub assignments in WHOIS from assignments. Sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have some comment online.
This is Melody. I'm from APNIC. On behalf of Liam Stephens, who is on Zoom, this comment is in his personal capacity. Thanks, Chris, for your proposal. My question is to the Secretariat. Will this impact IP management processes for APNIC? For example, does APNIC currently organize allocations based on size? For example, you want- Can you answer? We'll just read it out.
Let me get more glasses. It's a question for.
I'll actually read the question out. Liam Stevens, in my own personal capacity, thanks, Chris, for your proposal. My question is to the Secretariat. Will this impact IP management processes for APNIC, i.e., does APNIC currently organise allocations based on size? For instance, 2001:200/23 has mainly 32 blocks, whereas 2001C0023 has mainly 48s.
So yes, we have, Vivek from APNIC. So we have split our /12 to two blocks, one to make smaller, one to make larger. So this will affect the one which we're making smaller delegations, the /32s, but the only change would be we'll drop the size from 32 to 36.
Thank you.
Since you there any more comments? Okay, you said.
Hello, Jen from Cynic. My question is, even we have make a /32 delegation, you still can register the who is for /36. So we have enough IPv6 address. So why we need to make a delegation to?
Yeah, so look, if I understand the question correctly, please correct me if I'm wrong. If you have the minimum allocation size you can receive is a /32. Now, if you receive an assignment of longer than a 32, i.e. a 36, you can't create sub-records in the WHOIS database from that /36, i.e. a /48. This proposal is trying to address that by allowing people to take smaller space, which then allows them to create smaller records and allows them to maintain more accurate information.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Have some question, please.
Matthew Enger from LeapTel in Australia. The /36, is that aligning with the /23 on a cost point of view?
Within the open policy meeting, we can't discuss fee schedules. It's outside the scope of the PDP.
Okay.
But yes, short answer is yes.
So if there is no other question on site or online, so this proposal has been discussed. So we will make the consensus call. And if you strongly support this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you support this proposal, please raise your hand. Okay, thanks. If you are neutral about this proposal, please raise your hand. Okay, thanks. Yeah. If you oppose this proposal, please raise your hand. Thank you. If you strongly oppose this proposal, please raise your hand. Okay, thanks. So we discuss with chairs and later. So after, yes, you can speak.
Aftab Siddiqui, I just want to remind everyone who's opposing it, if you are opposing it, please ask why you are opposing it. I mean, at least give the opportunity to the author to explain why you are opposing it. I mean, opposition for the sake of it, I'm a bit baffled about that. Now we have a strong opposition all of a sudden. So it's kind of interesting. It's usually it doesn't happen like that here. So if you have an opposition, I mean, you can have a genuine opposition, I'm fine, but at least come and explain what the opposition is. Thank you.
Thanks, Aftab. And yes, we do need feedback. Oh, the authors do need feedback to improve the proposal if needed.
Okay. Okay. So as the community has did not reach consensus, so this proposal will send back to the mailing list, and the author can consider more feedback from the community. Thanks, Christopher.
Thank you. If I may say one thing before I step down from the mic, look, those that do have an objection to this policy, I would definitely love to get feedback from you, because for me and my co-author to be able to improve it, it's one thing to look at it and see what we can amend, but it's another thing to get feedback from the community on how we can amend it so we can reach a wider consensus. So hopefully I look forward to meeting in the hallways, on the mailing lists. For those that have my email address, feel free to reach out directly, and we'll see what we can do. But again, thank you very much.
Thanks, Christopher. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, and this concludes this open policy meeting session 2. Sorry, we are running a bit late, but it was a very interesting meeting. So enjoy your lunch and see you at the APNIC member meeting.
Don't try it yourself.